What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by. Today's project is this Husqvnarna lawnmower that we did a motor swap on because the original one had a bent crankshaft, but the problem this time is that the self-propel doesn't seem to pull as well as it used to. Let's take a good look at it, find out what's wrong with it, and hopefully we can fix it. In this video, we try and repair this mower. However, it may not be the exact repair you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. In the previous video on this mower, we swapped the engine on it with another Honda engine, and after some tweaking, it seems to work really well. However, the owner says that the self-propel seems to be getting weaker as the years go by. I then suggested that we examine the drive system, and if we need to, replace the drive belt. I find it hard to believe that the belt would wear out in only 4 years of use, but the owner did use it for almost 2 seasons with a bent crankshaft. When an engine has a bent crankshaft, it has a tendency to vibrate excessively, and I hate to say it, but this engine was shaking so badly that it was tearing the mower deck and itself apart. This is a clip of it running before replacing the damaged engine. As you can see from the clip, the engine was vibrating a lot, and I also believe it caused the lower part of the handlebars to also get damaged to the point that they had to be replaced. Unfortunately, they don't make the lower part anymore, so I had to modify a different set to work with this style of mowing deck. If you look at the rear wheels, you can see there's plenty of tread on the tires, so the weak self-propel is not the result of worn out tires. Luckily, if we did have to replace them, they still sell them, but they are very expensive. If I tip the mower backwards, you can see the new blade and blade adapter that we installed in the previous video. Fortunately, there's enough of the belt that isn't covered by the guard that we can see if it's a belt tension issue. I'll then squeeze the lever to activate the self-propel system, and as you can see, it will then tension the belt. There seems to be plenty of tension on the belt, so I can only guess that the belt itself is the problem. To get to the belt, the first thing we need to do is take off the blade and the blade adapter. Luckily, I put some grease on the crankshaft, that way the adapter won't have a chance to get stuck to it. Once the blade is off, just slide the adapter away from the engine and then work the belt off the pulley. Unfortunately, to get to the rest of the belt that's around the pulley on the transmission, we need to remove this plastic guard. Luckily, there are only 2 bolts on this side of the deck and 1 bolt on either side of the deck we need to remove. Unfortunately, the bolt that's on the right side of the deck has vibrated loose and also damaged the hole. I'll have to remember to replace this bolt later on when we put everything back together. Now that all the bolts have been removed, we should be able to slide the guard away from the deck. Once the guard is out of the way, we can now see the transmission, the rest of the drive belt, and also the cable that puts tension on it. First, we need to get the cable out of the way, then we'll see if we can get the belt off the pulley on the transmission with the belt guards in place. Unfortunately, the guards are still doing their job in keeping the belts from coming off the pulley. That means we need to remove the bolts that hold the guard in place. It looks like we'll have to do the same thing for the idler pulley as well, except this time we'll take the pulley off instead. I would not suggest prying on the guards to get the clearance you need to get the belt off because it could allow the belt to slip off while in use. So here's the old belt, and there is one small spot on it where there's some fraying, but it's not enough to cause our issues. This is the new belt, and I want to overlay it on the old one, first to confirm that it's close to the same size, and second, if it is the right belt, that the original one hasn't stretched, which would cause there to be less tension on it. I don't see any differences in length, and if there is, it's not enough to see visually. I don't think the belt has stretched, but I do think it's worn down some. To see if that's the case, I'm going to measure how wide they are, and that should tell me if the old one has worn down. The old belt comes in at 0.336 inches, while the new belt is a little wider at 0.376 inches. That's a difference of 0.04 inches, which doesn't sound like much, but in this case, that's quite a lot. If you want to see the measurements in metric, well, here you go. It looks as though the difference in width is about 1 millimeter, so it definitely looks like the old belt has worn down some, but it still worked to drive the wheels. However, since we have the new belt here, we're going to replace it anyway. So I've never taken the time to measure my belts from season to season, so I don't know what a normal wear rate is for a belt. However, I do have a few ideas why some belts would wear at different rates. For this particular mower, it's rear-wheel drive, so it has great traction. That means the tires don't have a tendency to slip. That means if there's any slipping and wearing, it would happen at the belt. If this was a front-wheel drive system, the front tires would have a tendency to slip and the tires would wear before the belt would. Now, in terms of cost, to replace the belt, it would take about an hour and cost about $10, but to replace 2 bald front tires and wheels, it would cost $30. Even though it takes longer to replace the belt, I would feel better about it because of the lower cost. That's one reason to choose a rear-wheel drive mower than one that's front-wheel drive. Most homeowners wouldn't care about these wear items, and I hate to say it, I completely understand why. I noticed that the opening for the anchor point for the cable had gotten larger over time. I decided to drill a new anchor point, but this time on a different side. This should reduce the chances of the Z-bend coming loose. The last thing to put on for the self-propel system is the blade adapter. Once it's on, I'll then try to activate the self-propel system and check to see what kind of tension we have on the new belt. Although I don't know how much the new belt is supposed to move while under tension, it seems to deflect a lot less than the original belt. Once that's done, I'll then install the large plastic guard and finally the blade. The other factors that would affect the wear on your drive system, no matter what type it is the weight of the mower. And on a lesser note, if you're actually pushing on the mower while using it. I consider this mower to be in a middle weight class, so the drive system has to move a fair amount of weight. However, if you basically let your mower drive itself around and you're only there to steer it instead of lightly pushing on the mower, it will definitely wear the drive system a lot faster than normal. Once the blade is back on, the last thing to do is start the mower, test the self-propel system, and hopefully we didn't miss anything. And for those who ask, the carb already had fuel in it, so I don't have to turn the fuel valve to the on position to start the engine, but I do want to test the drive system, so I will turn the valve on. I can't really say that I feel a big difference in the strength of the drive, but I did ask my friend later on after they used it, and they said it was much better, so replacing the belt did help. One of the things I like to do on these Honda engines is to turn the engine off by turning off the fuel valve and letting the carb run out of gas. This will keep fuel from sitting in the carb for a long time. Another reason why this mower would have a weak self-propel system is that there's a lot of friction where the axles are supported by bushings. To fix this, you can try spraying some lubricant where the axles and bushings make contact. The other option is much more labor-intensive and requires cleaning the axles of any corrosion. So my question is, would you choose a rear-wheel drive system or front-wheel drive system? Personally, I would go with rear-wheel drive as I think they work better. I also find that the front-wheel drives suffer from excessive tire wear, which means after a few years, the drive system doesn't work very well because of the lack of traction. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions, and I hope to see you in the next video.